The Sports Capital Programme is the largest provider of funding for sports-related capital projects. Since 2002, over €110 million in funding has been provided to football projects, with the vast majority going towards the development of grassroots facilities such as pitches, training facilities, dressing rooms and equipment. The objectives of the Sports Capital Programme are to assist voluntary and community organisations, national governing bodies, local authorities and schools to develop high-quality, safe, well-designed and suitable facilities in appropriate locations. Another objective of the programme is to prioritise the need of disadvantaged areas in the provision of sports facilities. A further objective is to encourage the multi-purpose use of facilities at national, regional and community level by clubs, community organisations and national governing bodies. There are two different types of applications. The first is for local facilities, and these are facilities that encourage participation within local communities, such as local football clubs or local leagues. The maximum grant available via this category of application is €200,000. The second category of application is for regional facilities, and these facilities attract users across several counties and conform to specification of the governing bodies. They can also incorporate a range of facilities for training at the highest international level, and the maximum grant available for these type of facilities is €500,000. In this round of the programme, there's €40 million of grant aid which has been set aside. The Department have outlined that they will focus funding on projects which increase active participation in sport, particularly in disadvantaged areas, as well as on projects that improve and impact on performance. In terms of the infrastructure that's funded, these include pitch developments, including drainage projects, security fencing, ball stop netting, the building and refurbishment of dressing rooms, showers and toilets, non-personal sports equipment such as balls, goalposts, etc., and also floodlighting. There are, however, a number of items that are not funded, and these include private and commercial operations, operational costs, viewing stands, car parks, roads or landscaping, and also projects that are not of a sporting nature. In terms of what is different from previous rounds of the programme, it's really important that clubs look at the guidance notes that have been produced by the department, and they're available from the website www.sportscapitalprogramme.ie. In a departure from previous application process, the department are only accepting online applications. Hard copy applications will be returned and declared invalid. Applicants must register with the department's online registration system, which is known as OSCAR, via the sportscapitalprogramme.ie website. The closing date for registering with OSCAR is Friday 7th of February, and this deadline will be strictly adhered to. And it's very important that clubs register by this date. In order to register, clubs will need a tax registration number to complete the registration process. If you have a tax clearance cert, an old or a current one, the tax registration number is the number at the top left-hand side of the certificate. If you don't have one, you need to apply for one, and you need to apply for one as soon as possible. If your organisation is not a limited company and does not currently have a tax registration number, obtaining one is simple. All you have to do is complete the one-page registration form for voluntary non-profit making organisations, which is available on the Revenue website, and return it to the appropriate Revenue office. It should take around 10 working days to get written confirmation of your tax registration number. If your organisation is a limited company, the form to be completed is Form TR2, the Tax Registration 2 form. And this again is also available on the Revenue website. In this case, the company or a limited company must be registered with the company's registration office prior to the application for a tax registration number. If you have this number, visit the sportscapitalprogramme.ie site and complete the registration process, which is simple and takes less than 5 minutes. There is certain information that is required as part of the application process. The application form will ask you a number of questions that you will need to answer as part of your application, and these need to be answered carefully and concisely. The better the answers, the more marks that will be awarded. Your answers will be carefully scrutinised, therefore it is important that you emphasise the merits of your project. The type of information that you will be asked for include, can you please provide a summary of your project? How will the project increase participation or improve performance? What is the location of the proposed facility? Can you provide details of proposed project cost and the timeline for the development? They will also ask you for details about usage in terms of what target groups or what stakeholders will be utilising the facility. More information can be garnered by referring to the guidance notes, which are available from the department's website and on the Sports Capital Programme website also. There are a number of compulsory documents that must be submitted as part of your application. These are outlined within the guidance notes, and a number of templates are included in the appendices at the end of the guidelines. The first compulsory document that they'll be looking for is evidence of your own funding. Applicants must make a local contribution towards the cost of the project. Depending on the type of area that you're in, a different level of local contribution is required. For example, if you're in a non-disadvantaged area which will which will be most clubs, you will be required to provide 15% of the total cost of the project as part of your minimum funding contribution. If you're in a clore area, which is a disadvantaged rural area, you will be asked to provide 10% local contribution. And if you're in a rapid area, which is a designated disadvantaged urban area, you will have to provide 5% local contribution towards the project. Please note that these are minimum levels of funding, and extra marks will be given at assessment to projects with higher levels of own funding. You will also need confirmation of your rapid or clore status if you are applying under that heading. If you're applying for clore status, you will need a letter from the Register of Electors section of your local authority confirming that the electoral division that your club is in is indeed part of a clore area. For those of you in a rapid area, you will need a letter from your local rapid coordinator confirming the following details: that your project is located in a rapid area, that your project is endorsed by your local area implementation team. If your project is located outside a rapid area but serves a rapid area by including a lot of young people from who are domiciled in a rapid area, you should also get a letter from your local area implementation team endorsing your project and a letter of endorsement from your local county or city development board. The next compulsory item that you'll need is a quotation or estimate for the works, and this is an absolute requirement. You will need at least one professionally prepared quotation or pre-tender estimate for each aspect of the works being applied for. As funding is limited, it may not be possible to fund all of the elements that you are applying for. Therefore, it is important that you break down your project into smaller elements that could be funded if the funding is not available to fund your entire project. For example, if your project includes resurfacing an artificial turf pitch, erecting a fence around the pitch and floodlighting the area, you should include a price for each element in your application and indicate the priority you place on each element. If you only provide one overall cost and the department does not have enough money to provide you with a grant for all three elements, you are likely to receive no funding. If you provide a separate cost for the three parts of the department can fund as many elements as possible. In the absence of such a breakdown, it may not be possible to fund your project at all. Extra marks are also available at assessment if drawings and plans are provided. For artificial turf playing surfaces and floodlighting, you should include the technical specifications of what you are planning to install. And it would be advantageous if these were prepared by an appropriately qualified technical advisor or consultant, such as an engineer or an architect. The next element of compulsory documentation that you need to provide is the evidence of local funding. And evidence of local funding can be shown by way of at least one statement from a financial institution. This must be dated within 3 months of the date of the application, and this will be used to verify the amount of local funding available for the application. Letters from benefactors or clubs or future fundraising estimates are not acceptable. The second element that you can use for providing evidence of funding is if your funding includes a loan, that your financial institution must fill in and stamp the template provided in Appendix 2 of the guidelines document. Planning permission. Okay, this is the next compulsory item that is required, and one of the following must be supplied. Either a copy of the planning permission for any of the aspects of your project that require planning permission, and this planning permission must be current. You must also provide evidence of a planning reference number or acknowledgement of application for planning permission from your local authority for any of the aspects of your project that require planning permission. Or you can get a recent letter from your technical supervisor or local authority stating that your project does not need planning permission. You need one of these elements in order to qualify in order to make sure your application qualifies. The next compulsory documentation that you'll need is evidence of title to your site. For an application less than €25,000, the following is required, and all you need is a letter from the owner of the land or facility stating that the facility will not be taken out of sporting use for a minimum of 5 years. Appendix 5 within the guidelines documents will provide you with the necessary wording required. For an application greater than €25,000, the following is required. You will need a solicitor's letter confirming that you own the site for the proposed facility or that you hold it under a lease. You will also need to confirm that the leasehold or freehold is registered with the Property Registration Authority. If registration is pending, then a dealing number from the Property Registration Authority must be included. You should also, in that letter, you should also demonstrate that there is at least 15 years remaining on the lease, if that is the case, and that the title of the lease is capable of holding a charge. Appendix 6 within the guidelines documents will provide the necessary wording for your solicitor. To summarise, I'm going to run through a number of the submission basics, which will help you to get the best chance to secure an allocation from the Sports Capital Programme. The first is to be very clear about how your proposed project will increase participation or improve performance. The second one is to be very realistic about the levels of grant that you're seeking. The third one is to make sure that you have a decent local contribution. As I outlined earlier, the higher the local contribution that you can bring to the table, the more likely it is that you will get funding. The next item is to make sure that all of the project costs are covered, including the cost of the technical advisor. You should also make sure that all technical issues must be covered as well. For example, if you're developing floodlights, to make sure that you have a detailed design carried out for the design of the floodlights. It's important and in fact vital that all of the documentation requested by the department must be included with the application. The fact that the process is online this time will prompt you along the way and make it easier for you to make sure that all of the documentation is in place. And finally, it's really important that you consult with the FAI at all times in relation to your project, and make sure that you email myself, richard.fahy@fai.ie or fergal.dignam@fai.ie to let us know what you're proposing to build and how much you are seeking from the department. Thank you.